Hey Gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk. I'm Corey, and this right here is a 2019 Honda Civic Si. This is the hot Honda you want, the best bang for your buck. But if you really want to go super hot Honda, this 2018 Type R is where it's at. 306 horsepower, over 22 pounds of boost, turbo VTEC power under the hood, and don't even get me started on that rear wing. This thing will get looks and it will move. So let's take a quick tour and see what it's all about. Huge thanks to our friends here at Peltier Subaru of Tyler, Texas. If you're in the market for a new or pre-owned car, check them out. Link down in the description below. Tell them GT Garage Talk sent you. Hey Gearheads, do us a huge favor. Hit subscribe down below so that you don't miss a future video from us, and ring the bell so you get notified every time we post.
And if you want to know some behind the scenes of what we're doing and some of the crazy stuff that we're driving, be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, both at GT Garage Talk. And everything that we do, including our podcast, is at gtgaragetalk.com.
All right, Gearheads, let's play a little game of fake or functional. Yes, there are a lot of vents on this thing, a lot of boy racer looks to it, so let's go through all of them and talk about which ones are actually functional and which ones are fake. First of all, let's start up here on the hood. We have got this scoop up here, which actually creates a vacuum based through this vent here and onto the ginormous side skirt vents outside on this. And then for your air intake, you actually have a functional ram air style scoop right up here in the grill that feeds your air intake right here. Now, that being said, yes, fake, hard plastic all the way through, not a fan. Right here beside it though, real. Allows air to skirt around the wheels for better airflow. And then we already discussed right here, yes, real. And then sadly, tragically, why this? Why even put this piece of plastic? Look, it's even loose. Like this was a waste right here. You could have kept the crease and not put that there right next to this giant hunk of plastic here as well. So yes, there are a lot of giant fake vents on this, but there are also some very smart and practical functional bits as well. And then talking about aero on this, you've got these air channels and vortex generators all around, all leading to this giant rear wing that does produce downforce. And you even get a second spoiler down here. Yes, this is a front wheel drive car, but this actually makes a huge difference when you're going fast on the road. All right, Gearheads, under this hood is Honda's 2-liter turbocharged VTEC Earth Dreams engine. And this thing actually produces 306 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. It's actually quite impressive for this vehicle because this entire package is quite light. That being said, yes, there are a bunch of aero bits on this to go through, but let's come inside and talk about what's going on in here. First and foremost, your very bolstered sport seats that hold you in very well. We'll talk about more of that on the driving portion. There is a lot of red in here. Red leather on the steering wheel, red seats, red seat belts, red on the gauge cluster, and yes, you go to R, even more red. Red on the dash, fake carbon fiber bits, which at least there's a little bit of texture to it. It's not just smooth plastic. You've got Alcantara on the doors and the seats, contrasting red stitching everywhere. If you don't like red, this is not the model for you. But that being said, it is a very comfortable seating position and very easy to hit all the pedals and control that clutch, which is not heavy whatsoever, is the perfect weight. And then you've got your practical Honda Civic interior. You've got 2 cup holders, you've got very adjustable, customizable center console storage area with sliding trays. You've got an upper tray here, lower tray down here with USB ports, and my favorite, yes, this 6-speed is perhaps my favorite part of the entire car. You've got your automatic brake, your brake hold, and down here you've got your drive mode selector, so you can go from comfort to sport to R, and that is the mode you want to be in for carving corners. Again, you can see a little bit more here, these Type R bucket seats that are very impressive, and they must not have had a passenger ride in this one too much, because this driver's seat definitely has a little bit more wear, but this passenger seat is quite beautiful. The rear seat is a little bit of a different story. As I come around and hop in the back, this is actually a 2+2 because I put cup holders in the center section of the middle, but not a terrible place. Sitting behind essentially myself here at 5'10", you've got plenty of room. It's 10th gen Civic, and yeah, not quite the same materials back here, but hey, at least you do get the red seat belts. All right, 3 things are immediately noticeable when you come around to the back end of the Type R. And yes, I said 3 things for those 3 tailpipes down in the center. A bit unorthodox, a little bit different, but hey, what are you gonna do? Second is this giant wing, which does produce quite a bit of downforce. And third is the fact that it is a hatch. And being a hatch, there's actually quite a bit of room back here for storing whatever you need, which makes this quite a practical vehicle on the daily. And add to it that you can fold down the rear seats and you get even more cargo space back here in the back that could rival some compact crossovers. And yes, you even have a retractable cargo shade to hide whatever you put back there. All right, so this actually has a limited slip front diff, which makes cornering in this thing quite fun. But let's face it, rowing through the gears is where this is at, and this thing will scoot like crazy. This shifter is perhaps one of my favorite in any car I've driven to date. And yes, it is a proper 6-speed. I have to use thought and 3 pedals down here. It is so refreshing to be in a proper manual transmission in a car for you, our gearheads. And yeah, makes for some fun acceleration as well. But it's just so much better getting to throw through these short throws. Oh my gosh, this shifter is excellent. I love it. Man, this shifter's good. And like I said, you can toss it into corners so well. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Yes. Hero. Oh my gosh. This is a great car. I could get in a lot of trouble with this, and with this bright red paint job and the Boy Racer wing on the back and all the aero, this just shouts, pull me over. And to be fair, kind of makes me drive that way too. You can't help but get in it and drive like a jerk. The same thing happened to me. My brother had a bright yellow Honda S2000. Short throw shifter, reminds me a lot of this one. And very similar situation. I got in it and I just wanted to drive it like a jerk. There's no other way to do it. Drive it fast, cut through traffic, row through these gears, and just find that awesome power band, because this thing revs up to 7,000 RPM. It is just so good. I think that this car is a love letter to the manual transmission, because this one is so good and it's wrapped in a car that is just as good. 306 horsepower to those front wheels, but you wouldn't know it because of that limited slip diff up front. and all the aero on this that make it so crazy. It's actually very well composed on corners and going through the twisties. This transmission just makes driving this car fast and through traffic and around corners just so good. It is perhaps one of my favorite parts of this car. Yes, it's fast. Yes, there's tons of boost from that turbo up front. Yes, there's a lot of crazy looks to this with Boy Racer. Yes, we're going nearly 100 miles per hour right now, and it doesn't even feel like it because this car is so composed. And that's what's so good about this thing. It's just a total package, and I absolutely love it. Everything about it. It's, oh my goodness, this curve is, yes. I love this car. I don't even know what to say. It's just getting me giggly inside. And I'm like a classic V8 fanboy over here. This car is making me smile in ways that I'm not used to with a red H in front of me. This is my first Type R and probably not my last. This is a very tempting package if you have not sampled one yet. My gosh. And when you have to, goodbye. Yeah, this car, so good. We'll get up to speed without even thinking about it. It is quite composed at speed. So there are trade-offs when you go for the hottest of hot hatches. And let's face it, this Type R is exactly what that is. That road noise, the exhaust noise out of that back hatch does get a little obnoxious at speed, and these performance tires on this textured pavement do make it a little hard to have a normal conversation in here. But that's not what you're buying this car for. You're buying this car for just the giant grin it'll put on your face as you carve corners and row through the gears on this. And yeah, it'll take 4 people around in comfort. Honda also was much maligned in their use of too much touch capacitive controls up here and going too minimal with their buttons and dials. When it comes to the climate, you actually have to hit the climate control button before you can actually control anything with the climate, and then you have to, and yeah, now I screwed it up. So sorry about that. Let's see, cancel. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore up here. The volume is a little slider here on the left, which gets annoying, and you can't just quickly change the volume. Yes, there are controls here on the dash, but there's just too much reliance on new tech and touch capacitive stuff. I could go without that, especially when you're driving this at speed and you know you need to change something, or it's just getting too hot in here because let's face it, it's just so fun carving the corners in this thing that maybe you need a little more air conditioning to help cool you off after all that adrenaline is pumping through your system. So yes, there are some nitpicky things that I have in here. Luckily, this is a 2018 model. 2019 models, Honda addressed some of that. You actually have a volume tuning dial, which is a welcome addition as well. The gauges on this, you've got a full digital speedometer and tach up here in front of you with annoyingly a bright red shift light if you ever hold the revs too long as you approach that 7 grand RPM red line. And yeah, this thing, woo, it'll move. Another thing Honda did incredibly right in this one are the front seats. We mentioned the back seats being 2+2. The front seats on this are very, very well bolstered racing seats. They actually hold you in place better than any performance seat I think I've been in, and they're covered in this suede Alcantara that do not let you slide around. So I'm 5'10", 190 pounds. This seat feels perfect for me. I fit in it like a glove, and carving corners, it's not going to throw you around. The rear seat, totally different story. It's practically your standard Civic rear seat with the addition of those cup holders in the middle. So riding back there, your passengers may have to hold on for dear life as you carve the corners. But other than that, this is a very impressive driver's car all the way around. So, as fun as this is on curvy roads, what is this like to live with daily? Well, you've got this nifty little lever down here that allows you to pick between R, Sport, and Comfort, which actually tunes the throttle response, the steering, and a little bit of the suspension, which all of that you can feel on certain roads as you swap between the three. So in Comfort, it is stiff, but it is not quite as stiff as it is in R. And all in all, you're still in a 10th gen Civic. It's still a very well put together vehicle. About the only detractor I would have for this Type R as a daily driver that you would probably get used to rather quickly is that large rear wing back in the back. The only time I really catch a glimpse of it is not in my rear view mirror, but is if I'm glancing over my shoulder. You catch it in the corner of your eye and it looks like somebody is right up on your tail. It can kind of freak you out, especially if you're backing up in a parking lot. Other than that, yeah, this screams boy racer, but so does the engine, and it makes up for all the crazy looks because, let's face it, half of those vents are functional. And Honda actually thought about what they were doing as they were adding all the aero on this. It's very practical in a very loud sort of way. Final thoughts on this 2018 Honda Civic Type R. Let me just say, after spending some time with it, I get it now. I get the subculture that is the Type R and the Civic in general. This platform is really good. And this is the swan song of the 10th generation as we await the upcoming 11th gen that is being teased for a 2022 reveal. There's not much to dislike about this. It's a practical car day in and day out. The engine is great. That transmission is wonderful and just a blast to drive on the road. All in all, this gearhead who loves classic V8 muscle, I'm pretty tempted by it and kind of want to drive it home. In fact, I'll see y'all later. What?
Yes.
Oh, I hate it.
This is what they've changed.
Are you still recording?
Yes.
All right, how on earth? All right, I have to, okay, there's climate. Okay, now how do, no! Why is it so hard? I'm trying to drive fast and have fun. This is, no, too much. Thank God the newer ones don't have that, right?